Hey guys, we're going to talk about trigonometric ratios and we're going to solve word problems today. So let's jump right on in. This is day 2. We're going to deal with the standard of using these ratios, and we'll probably use Pythagorean's theorem too to solve the right triangles in applied problems. So you're going to know how to use this and how to find the missing sides and missing angles. Very quickly, let's talk about the trigonometric ratios. So we have sine, which is opposite over adjacent. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tan is opposite over adjacent. Or some old hood rat caught another hood rat taking off Adidas. Angle of depression means to go from high to low. So you think about the sky. And if you think about the sky, think about something falling out of the sky. The blue line is the sky. The red line is something falling out of the sky. So there, the angle formed between the red line and the blue line is called your angle of depression. Angle of depression. Alright, an angle of elevation means to rise. So here, I would have think about being on the ground, and then I would rise up from the ground. Alright, so that's the angle of elevation. Elevation means to go up. So the angle formed between the red line and the blue line this time is called the angle of elevation. So a side, this one goes to this one. A side, and I'm referring to its side as the sides of a triangle. So A, B, C are the sides of a right triangle. A to B is a side. This is called a side. B to C is a side, and A to C is a side. An angle, in reference to a right triangle or any triangles, means the inside angles of the triangle. So I'm going to call this A, B, and C. So here, this is angle A, this is angle C, and this is angle B. And there are different ways you can say measure of A, measure of angle A, measure of angle B, a measure of angle C, and you can also write this as angle BA to C for angle A, or you can write AC to B for angle C, or you can write ABC for angle B. Those are different ways to write angles. So today we're going to talk about how to find the angles inside of the triangle when we need to, all we have is our trig ratios, and we only know one angle and not the other. And we're also going to talk about how to find the sides in real world situations. So your homework for tonight is to complete day 3 of week of November 26th, and that's more trig word problems. Okay, so let's try this first one together. It says a 25-foot tall flagpole casts a 42-foot shadow. What is the angle that the sun hits the flagpole? So here, it wants to know what is this angle up here. So we need to find this part. So first thing I'm going to do is go and highlight the question, so I'll know what I'm trying to focus on. What is the angle that the sun hits the flagpole? That's this part right here. And now I'm going to go back through and start underlining what's important. So I got a 25-foot tall flagpole, and they already drew a picture for you. And then we have a 42-foot shadow, which is down here. So now I need to use this angle that they gave us. So you can put your finger on the angle, or you can mark it. I'm going to use a shape to put on this side. So I'm going to put my shape here, and I'm going to mark my sides. So this side, that would be the adjacent. The other side, that's the slanted side that's across from the right angle, is the hypotenuse. And this side here that I'm not touching is called the opposite. And I can use this because I know this is a right triangle that's being made here. So now it's asking me to find this angle in here. It's asking me to find this angle. Well, let's see the sides that I know here. So I'm going to look at these two sides that I know, and I'm going to write my SOHCAHTOA up here. So SOHCAHTOA, so I can figure out what am I working with. So here I know the adjacent and the opposite, so I need to go find which trig function fits what I know here. And the trig function that fits is tan. So now I'm going to set up my ratio. So tan of x, which is that angle that I'm looking for, equals adjacent over, well, opposite over adjacent. So 42 over 25. So now I'm going to go and draw my circle, and I'm going to fill it in with my tan ratio. So I get tan of x equals opposite, which is 42, over adjacent, which is 25. Now, this time we're looking for this angle here. So I'm going to use the same shape I already used before. I am going to cover up this time. I'm going to put my mark here because that's what I'm trying to solve for. So it tells me to divide these two. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the tan inverse of that division though. So you're going to do tan inverse, which is signified by the little negative sign, of 42 over 25. You have to do the tan inverse of that. And we're going to find out what x equals. This is what our x should equal. So yeah. So we're going to graph the calculator. If you don't have a calculator, I need you to get one, or you can use one of the ones online. But please get a calculator because this is going to be so helpful for you on the test, and I can go ahead and start teaching you how to use it. If you're using the graphing calculator, then you're going to push second and the tan key, and you're going to get the tan inverse symbol. Then you're going to push alpha y equals and push enter and get 42, type in 42 over 25. Then I'm going to push equal here. I'm going to go back and check something because what I noticed is this shouldn't be that small of an angle. So I'm going to go to mode and I'm going to go check, and as you see, my calculator was on radians instead of degrees. So I'm going to go back and change that. And most scientific calculators come in degrees already, so no worries on that. So I'm going to do this again. Alpha y equals, push enter, and then I'm going to do 42 over 25. And there we go. And I'm going to round my angles to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to have 59.2. Yeah, this is 59.2. So that means the angle right here is 59.2. That is what x equals. And x represents the angle. And now that you know how many degrees are in a triangle, which is 180, you can add the angle that you found with 90. And then take 180 and subtract out the sum of what you just found, and you'll find the third angle also. Okay, so go ahead, work on the next couple of problems on your sheet. After you finish those, that should be this one. Then we're going to go ahead and go to this one. So I'm going to talk about this one. I'm going to leave you to do the rest of them. It says our class plants a new tree and attaches a guy wire to help support the tree while its roots take hold. An 8-foot wire is attached to the tree and to a stake in the ground. From the stake in the ground, the angle of elevation of the connection with the tree is 42 degrees. Find to the nearest tenth of a foot the height of the connection point on the tree. Alright, so that was a lot, but what we're going to go, not going to let it scare us, we're going to go and highlight what's important. So here it says find to the nearest tenth, well, we're going to highlight the question first. Find to the nearest tenth of a foot the height of the connection point of the tree. Now if you notice this time we have no picture, so we're going to have to use our imagination to draw our own picture. So step 1. Is to read and highlight. And read and highlight the question. That's your step 1. Okay, step 2. Step 2 would be to go back and use the words to draw a picture. So got to go back and draw a pic. Alrighty, so I did step 1. I'm going to step 2 now. It says, well, this should say our class. Our class plants a, let me make that a capital. Our class plants a new tree and attaches a guide wire to help support the tree while it takes roots, while its roots take hold. Okay, so I'm going to draw a tree. And you don't have to draw fancy like this. This is not really fancy, but the more you draw, the more your imagination starts coming alive. So you draw however you please. So I got a tree and attaches a guide wire. So a guide wire is a wire that they're going to use from the top of the tree to put a stake in the ground down here. So they'll help holding the tree up until it takes roots. This is the red line, it's called a guide wire. Okay, got that. And it says an 8-foot wire is attached to the tree and to a stake in the ground. So this guide wire that we have is 8 feet. So I'm going to put 8 feet right here. Alright, so I got that was important. This was important. We planted a tree. Okay, we got it attached to the ground down here. So that's the stake holding it in the ground. And then it says from the stake in the ground, the angle of elevation of the connection with the tree is 42 degrees. So we talked about angle of elevation. So that means I'm going to go to the ground, and this guide wire from the orange line to the red line, there's an angle formed right here, and this is called the angle of elevation, and that angle of elevation is 42 degrees. Okay, now it says find to the nearest tenth of a foot the height of the connection point on the tree. It says the height of the connection point on the tree. So in other words, it wants me to find the height of this tree right here. That's what it wants me to find. So I am going to put an X, because in order to find the height of this connection point here, I need to find the height of the tree. Okay? So now that I've drawn the picture, I gotta go through and do the math. Okay? So let's get this going. So I'm going to start with the angle, which is here, and I'm going to label my sides. So right here is going to be the right triangle part, and I'm going to label this side. So across from here is the hypotenuse. The other side that I'm touching is the adjacent, which is right next to the angle, and the side that I'm not touching is the opposite. Now all I need to do is find out what I know and what I'm looking for. So I'm going to end up using SOHCAHTOA, because this is a right triangle. Oops, some old hood rat caught another hood rat taking off Adidas. Okay, so I know the opposite side and I need to find I'm looking for the opposite side and I know the hypotenuse. So the trig function that fits this is going to be sine. So therefore I'm going to write it out. I'm going to say sine of, I know the angle this time, so sine of 42 equals opposite, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 8. Okay, so I'm going to draw my little circle to help me solve this. Sine of 42 goes here, x goes here, and 8 goes here. So in order to solve for x, you put your finger on x, and you notice these two are beside each other, so we're going to multiply. So here we get x equals sine of 42, make sure you put that in parentheses, times 8. So I'm going to graph my calculator, and I'm going to type in sine 42 times 8, or you could put the 8 in front of the sine. You're still going to get the same answer. And that side is 5.3, and it said to the nearest tenth of a foot, so 5.4 feet. Well, let's write that in here. So x equals 5.4 feet. That's how tall the tree is at the time. Pretty short tree for right now. Alright, so your job is to go ahead and complete the rest of the questions for day 3. And I will see you guys in class. Bye.